Hello, I'm Bailey Leasure, and I'm back after a 1 week hiatus. I'm going to kick off the podcast on a little bit of a somber note. Unfortunately, today we had a really tragic event happen in sports as a former Cy Young Award pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays and Philadelphia Phillies, Roy Halladay, died today in a plane crash. Um, at the age of 40, and just really a sad loss in the sports world. I mean, this guy was one of the best pitchers ever. I mean, the guy was, you know, I mean, you think he's gonna be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I remember watching this guy. I remember being amazed at what he did in 2010, throwing the perfect game, and then in the postseason he threw the no hitter. It was just incredible, and his career was incredible, and just unfortunately that happened. So my condolences to his family, and it was really just not great. But he was a hell of a player, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame. But it's just really it's beyond baseball, and just anybody that's that great of an athlete and is lost at a young age. I mean, it's just unfortunate. So prayers go out to his family, and rest in peace, Roy. So. Moving on to other Major League Baseball news, the MVPs and the Manager of the Year candidates came up today. I believe that the MVP race in the American League will include Jose Altuve and Aaron Judge. So Jose Ramirez is also in that. In the National League, it is Joey Votto, Carlos Stanton, and Paul Goldschmidt. The Manager of the Year candidates came up as it will be Torey Lovullo, Bud Black, and Dave Roberts. In the American League, it is Terry Francona, EJ Hinch, and Paul Molitor. The Cy Young Award race is between Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, and Steven Strasburg. In the American League, with Corey Kluber, Chris Sale, and Luis Severino. Um, and the Rookie of the Years will be Josh Bell. In the National League, Cody Bellinger and Paul DeYoung. And in the American League, Andrew Benintendi, Aaron Judge, and Trey Mancini. I think I'm saying those names correctly, hopefully. Um, but that's what the awards were announced, and my overall predictions on it. And as far as Rookie of the Years, I mean, both Rookie of the Years, they're going to be landslide votes. Cody Bellinger is going to win it in the National League, and Aaron Judge is going to win it in the American League. Cy Young Awards, this could be a little bit tricky. I'd probably say Clayton Kershaw will win the National League Cy Young Award, and in the American League, I'll probably say Chris Sale. But we'll see what happens there. Manager of the Year, these are really good candidates for each team. Now, the safest bet is to say that both teams that made the World Series, rarely they're ever in the Manager of the Years, but since they are, you immediately put them as Manager of the Years. Well, I'll give it to AJ Hinch in my opinion, just because of the rebuild that the Astros had to go through for so many years. Um, I'll give it to him, but personally, I think Bud Black and Torey Lovullo have a little bit more impressive stories. The fact that they really surprised people this year. I mean, Torey Lovullo, what he did, he basically took the almost same Diamondback squad from 2016 that a lot of people had expectations from. The expectations were lowered, and he was able to take the team to the playoffs. So, personally, I think in the National League, um, I really thought it's like whoever wins the wild card game between Bud Black's Colorado Rockies and Torey Lovullo's Arizona Diamondbacks was going to be Manager of the Year. Well, Torey Lovullo won that game, so personally, I think Torey will be Manager of the Year. That's just my personal thought. So we'll see what happens there. As far as MVP races are concerned, Aaron Judge, he had a good September after not really looking good after the All Star break, but I thought he was going to run away with that MVP trophy. I was wrong. After Jose Altuve's impressive just what he did in the playoffs and how valuable he was to that team, I have to give it to. It's got to be Altuve. I mean, he's got to be maybe not necessarily the unanimous award winner, but I think personally he'll get the award. So as far as in the National League, this is interesting because a lot of people think that Charlie Blackmon and Nolan Arenado got snubbed, which I personally make a case for that. As far as Paul Goldschmidt, he's been in the MVP race a couple times before. Unfortunately, in 2013, that was a year I personally thought he should have won the award, but it was really weird because voting was weird because it really, what you did for your team was considered like more of a, because you look at it, he had better statistics than Andrew McCutchen did that year, but because McCutchen took his team to the playoffs, they countered that. 2015, he was up for the award. None of the people in that award were up, made the playoffs, and Bryce Harper was able to get the award. Goldschmidt has that little statistic over Giancarlo Stanton and Joey Votto, as he was the only guy that made the postseason. Personally, I think Goldschmidt would have had more of a case from a statistics standpoint if he got his average up to 300 and he was in the 40 home run range. That's not necessarily the case. Now, if they're going to go from purely statistics, which I think what voters have gone through in the last couple years, then I think Stanton will win it. But you never know. But I mean, each of these players have really a good case to being MVP. Personally, I think Stanton's going to win it just because of 59 home runs led the league. But we'll see. Maybe Goldschmidt will. That's going to impress voters more. But we'll see what happens there. The Gold Glove Awards were announced today, and two Diamondbacks won it. Obviously, the only guys that were nominated out of that, which were Zach Greinke and Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt, I think this is I believe it's his third or fourth. Greinke's won it 3 years in a row, so very impressive for them, and congrats. They're very good defensive players, so there's no question about that. Now, I was going to do a podcast last week, but that fell through. So I want to just give my overall thoughts on the World Series, just my recap on it. Um, it was a great World Series. Really great. The last 2 years we've had 7 game series and were phenomenal World Series. Games 2 and 5. I mean, those were awesome. Game 5 could have been the greatest baseball game of all time. I mean, just that back and forth game. You just look at what happened in LA. I mean, after they won Game 6, I thought, okay, Game 7 is a no-brainer. They're gonna win it. But Darvish just fell apart. I mean, and Houston, we look at it. You look at it in any sport, defense wins championships, and that's true. But at the same time, if you have a good enough offense, you can kind of cheat that theory in a way, and that's what they did. Houston had a great bullpen game, no question about that. But Houston they hit better. They scored the most runs in baseball this season, and they proved it in the series. After the Diamondbacks and the Cubs got blanked by the Dodgers pitching staff, Astros looked at that and they corrected it. George Springer hit. What did he do? Like he had 4 games in a row where he hit a home run. I mean, it's incredible. And it was really great. It was really great for the Astros to do that for the city of Houston winning the World Series. So congrats to them. Great World Series. Looking very forward to next year. And LA, I could see Houston going back. Just because of their pitching staff and the youth of that team. LA, they have some youth. Yeah, they have some veterans on the team, but they're most likely not gonna get Darvish back. And it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the Dodgers because now that division's a lot more competitive now with the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, and those are young, hungry teams. So they're going to have some competition in that division. And even though the Giants were terrible this year, it's an odd year. So maybe they'll compete. But the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, I think it's going to be a very competitive division next year. So LA's it's gonna be a lot more difficult for them to get back to the World Series. I mean, they hadn't been in the World Series in 29 years, and to get that close, you're a little bit more hungry. But at the same time, there's some very hungry teams in that division and the rest of the National League. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to the NBA, I mean, it was rumored that Eric Bledsoe was going to get traded, and at least in principle, it's been agreed. The Phoenix Suns agreed to trade him to the Milwaukee Bucks, I believe, for a first round pick and another player. I don't remember his name. If people want to leave the player's name in the comments, that'd be very appreciated. But that's what happened. So, and I feel like the Suns are going to make more moves during this season, so we'll see what happens there. Coyotes still have the worst record in the NHL, but they've won 2 games since my last podcast. Finally won games, which is decent. Overall, the Coyotes really the bright spot on this team. Antti Raanta has looked good, even though he's been hurt. Clayton Keller, I mean, he's the one huge bright spot on this team, and that's almost pretty much it. I mean, this guy is just he's impressive and really young American player. I mean, he's just looking phenomenal, and he's leading the NHL, and he's one of the top goal scorers in the league right now. And not only that, I think he's leading the league in rookies. So yeah, I mean, this guy's an all-star player, and I personally think, I mean, this is what sucks about the Olympics not or the NHL not doing the Olympics this year because the United States could use a player like this young, hungry player, and I might make a blog episode about it, but this is, for sport that's considered number four as far as in the market for in at least America, and you could use the Olympics as an international uh, competition. You could use that platform to grow your sport. You've been able to do that since 1998, and not doing that, that's a huge blow to the growth and progress that your league's been trying to do for the last 20 years. So it really just unfortunate you're not going to see a player like that play for the Team USA, and we'll see what happens there. But it is what it is. So the Arizona Cardinals won this past week. Kind of I mean, I expected them to win, but at the same time, I mean, you're playing the 49ers who are just terrible. I mean, it's debatably who's worse, the 49ers or the Browns. But, Adrian Peterson, they gave it to him 37 times, rushed for 150 yards. Really just a game management game, get a turnover or two there, get a touchdown, run the ball, control the clock. That's basically what the Cardinals did. And it's going to be difficult. They're still in a playoff spot in the NFC. In that division, in my opinion, with Seattle losing last week, the Rams, they're leading now, but it's still up for grabs. And the NFC West, for the most part, is pretty weak, but we'll see what happens there. And now I'm going to move on to my predictions this week. So the Thursday night game will be between the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. Here's the interesting thing. Carson Palmer has done well against the Seahawks in, the era of him being the quarterback for the Cardinals in Seattle. This is not in Seattle, but he's done well against the Seahawks. They've been close games for the most part when he's been healthy. He's not healthy and he's not playing, so I'm going to pick the Seahawks. But at the same time, Seattle's so on and off. They could have this huge quarterback shootout with the Houston Texans, and then just waste a good defensive performance against the Redskins the next week. So they're so on and off, and that's why I can't really believe in Seattle being a Super Bowl contender right now because of that. So we'll see what happens there. Jets, Bucks, Buccaneers just look terrible. They shut down Jameis Winston for a couple weeks to heal up that shoulder. Jets beat a playoff contending Buffalo Bills. So overall, I gotta give it to the Jets. This is an interesting game between the Vikings and the Redskins. Redskins desperately needed a win against Seattle. Didn't think they were going to get that win. So they're trying to compete in that very tough NFC East. But overall, I like the defense more. And Case Keenum's been pretty good. I know Teddy Bridgewater is going to come back and be a backup, but because of that too, that could be the big factor why I picked the Vikings. Because even if Case Keenum struggles, you could bring Teddy Bridgewater in there, and he could, save the day for them. But overall, even after losing Dalvin Cook, they still have I still think they have a decent running game with Latavius Murray and Jared McKinnon. They still have some great wide receivers, Stephon Diggs. I just like the weapons both on defense and offense for the Vikings, so I'm gonna pick the Vikings. Saints Bills coming off a disappointing game against the Jets. Saints have been a red hot team right now. This is in Buffalo. This could be a surprising game, but you know what? Drew Brees is playing really well, so I'm gonna take the Saints. Packers Bears. God, they miss Aaron Rodgers. The Packers do. I mean, it was just not it. Really wasn't a contest Monday night against the Lions. So I'm gonna a good at home. Bears defense is decent. I like Trubisky more than Brett Hundley. We'll take the Bears. Bengals Titans. Bengals have been disappointing this year. Didn't look great against the it was kind of a bore fest between them and the Jaguars. Most memorable moment was the fight between AJ Green and Jalen Ramsey. Titans are now after Deshaun Watson gets hurt. It looks like it's going to be between the Jags and the Titans, and the Titans got a better quarterback in Marcus Mariota. This is at home, so I'm going to take the Titans. Steelers, Colts. Steelers. This is probably my lock of the week almost. Browns, Lions. Browns, Detroit. I mean, come on. I'm going to pick Detroit. So moving on, Chargers, Jaguars. Jaguars are defensively and looking impressive, and this is like I've been talking about the Cardinals. This is the one biggest regret that they have of the offseason is not re-signing Calais Campbell, and it's showing because Jacksonville is just, I think they lead the league in sacks, and he's been a big part of it. That Jacksonville's had a good defense, and they're really riding with that, and, competing for a playoff spot. So I'm going to pick the Jaguars. Texans, Rams. These were two of the most surprising teams, and this looked like this was going to be a great game until Deshaun Watson gets hurt the day after the Astros win the World Series. So I saw people joke on social media, which was kind of cruel, but kind of hilarious at the same time. They said that Deshaun Watson's knee was sacrificed in order for them to win the World Series. Kind of cruel, kind of funny at the same time, but just unfortunate for the Texans and just unfortunate for teams this year. We've seen so many injuries to key players, especially the quarterback position. You've seen Aaron Rodgers get hurt. You've seen Deshaun Watson get hurt. I mean, you've seen Carson Palmer get hurt. I mean, there's so many teams that have lost quarterbacks. Sam Bradford got hurt. I mean, it's just ridiculous of how many quarterbacks have gotten hurt, and we'll see what happens there. But this is at home, so I'm going to take the Rams. Cowboys, Falcons. It's so interesting because of the whole Elliott suspension thing. I mean, it seems like his suspension. Elliott does not want to be suspended, and he's going to fight this until the end. Cowboys, this is on the road. But overall, you know what? Even though the Falcons have been choking a lot of games this year, I'm going to take the Falcons in an upset over the Cowboys. I'm just, even though Dallas, could be looking good one week and it's just the opposite the next week. But I'm going to take the Falcons. Giants, Niners, this is the worst game of the week, considering you have just terrible teams. Considering Eli Manning's there, I'll take the Giants, but this is going to be a terrible game. In really what I consider a trap game on Sunday Night Football, Pats, Broncos, this is a place Tom Brady struggled in the last couple years. A couple years ago, Brock Osweiler did beat that team, and New England's defense is kind of up and down, but even with that, it's Brock Osweiler, and ever since that game, it's just been all downhill from him a couple years ago. So I'm going to take the Patriots, and then the Monday night game, Dolphins, Panthers, and that's a lock. It's at home. I'll take the Carolina Panthers. So those are my predictions for this week, and that's it for my podcast this week. Thanks everybody for watching. I was intending to do this last week, but just things caught up. I personally think that, or I'm personally gonna take a break from the podcast for a while and take a break from my channel. Just I want to rest and do some other things. I'm still doing appearances on the Guns N' Roses podcast that I've talked about on this channel before. I have links to the last 2 appearances I've done to the podcast in the description above. Or excuse me, the description below, so check that out if you're a fan of that. Follow me on Twitter at BaileyLeasure96. If you like the video, click like. If you like the content on my channel, please subscribe. And comment on your views of the top in the comment section below of what you think about what do you think about all the news happening in Major League Baseball, both good and bad? What do you think about the Bledsoe trade? Do you think the Coyotes are going to improve? What do you think about the Cardinals' chances against Seahawks? So leave your comments below. I'd love the feedback. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.